Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming today. We'll be waiting a few minutes so everyone can trickle in. If you'd like to look in the Q&A chat bubble, you can see in the thread that we've dropped a few links that you can check out there. And feel free to drop in any preliminary questions that you have into the chat. We'll be answering a few at the end of the presentation. So this is a good time to drop them in before we get started. But yep, we'll just take a few minutes here, wait for everyone to come in, and yeah, we'll get started soon. Right. So getting us started today, welcome everyone. We are excited to be here today to continue the stakeholder engagement in support of Indiana's Climate Pollution Reduction Grant. The purpose of this grant has been to build a climate action plan for Indiana that has the goal to benefit all the local communities, create jobs for Indiana, and all while reducing air pollution. The progress that we've made to date has been possible thanks to all the Hoosiers throughout the state that have contributed, and we're really excited for the continued participation today. So thanks again for your valuable time. I'd like to start with a few introductions. First, I'd like to introduce our host of this virtual meeting today from the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. IDEM applied for this planning grant. They're the ones who are bringing the opportunity to the state. I'll now turn the floor over to the IDEM team for some welcoming remarks. Over to you, Jessica.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Murray. I'm with the IDEM Office of Air Quality. I answer any questions and comments that come into the CPRG email, which will be shared with at the end of the slides. Thank you so much for coming today. We are excited to update everyone on our CPRG progress. Noah, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Jessica. I'd also like to introduce our facilitation team today. My name is Noah Godfrey. I'm a senior associate with Climco. We're a sustainability firm that's been supporting with the public meetings and also will be helping with the technical analysis throughout the grant. I'm also joined virtually by my colleague, Amanda Mast. She will be moderating your questions in the Q&A. Feel free to post them throughout. We'll be able to get to a few of your questions live at the end of this presentation. And please do note that when you drop your questions into the Q&A function, they'll only be visible to the moderator, but they are there and we have reviewed them. This meeting today is a continuation of all the work that we've been collaborating on throughout the past several months as we've been completing the Priority Climate Action Plan. Today, we're excited to report that the initial plan has been published and is available on the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant page of IDEM's website. We'll be referencing this link throughout the presentation, so you can check it out today. Now we are on to the next phase of the grant process, where we will be working towards completing the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan for Indiana. So looking at the agenda, in this meeting today, we want to first review all that we've accomplished over the past year. Next, we'll look to see what future work is on the horizon so that we can add to the existing plan, make it more comprehensive, and meet the additional grant requirements. We're also going to share with you resources, so how you can stay engaged in the planning process, And we also have a request for everyone today that is a survey, so you can fill it out and vote for additional measures that you would like to see included and share your community priorities and benefits. And then, as I mentioned, Amanda will be answering a few of your questions live at the end. So first, we'd like to revisit the activities that we've completed since we started the planning effort that was kicked off in September of last year. So taking a look at our timeline, the planning process began last fall with stakeholder input in selecting measures that were aiming at reducing climate pollution. The preliminary measure selection process, it started with gathering all of your stakeholder feedback, and it was completed through various technical analysis that included the quantification of emissions and assessing all of the community benefits that were associated with the measures. Finally, the priority plan was drafted. We shared it for stakeholder input, and ultimately it was published in March of 2024. A key outcome of the priority plan was that it helped unlock the ability for Indiana to apply for federal funding so that it could implement projects that reduce climate pollution. So in order to do this, last winter, communities, companies, nonprofits, everyone submitted projects that were aligned to the priority action plan measures. IDEM then reviewed these projects, they selected the most competitive, and they submitted them to the Environmental Protection Agency in April of 2024. These projects are currently being reviewed and assessed by the EPA and weighing them against those from other states. And we'll be knowing what grants will be awarded later this summer. So keep an eye out for those. We're really pleased to say that the Priority Climate Action Plan truly was a collaborative effort. We had in-person meetings, virtual meetings, online surveys, public comment periods. Over 1,500 Hoosiers shared their expertise and perspectives with us on the climate actions that could drive economic growth, benefit their households, their organizations, and communities. Collectively, we were able to review and document over 10,000 stakeholder comments, and all of this input helped to develop the priority plan. Additionally, we reviewed climate action plans from Indiana cities, towns, and universities, and which, as you'll remember, all of these were based on their own engagement from their local stakeholders. So all of these analyses form the foundation for the statewide plan. So here's a quick overview of the measures that were selected to be included in the priority plan. The measure selection process not only applied feedback from Hoosiers, but also we analyzed the co-benefits that were associated with each measure. These included potential of reducing air pollution, the job creation potential, ability to attract investment in clean energy, and specifically the focus on benefiting disproportionately burdened communities. For example, these priorities included amplifying Indiana's renewable energy availability so the state can increase access to clean energy and benefit from the job growth that comes with it. Additionally, we propose to enhance energy efficiency for buildings, also equipment and appliances for households so people can save money and be better prepared for inclement weather. All of these measures form the foundation of Indiana's Priority Climate Action Plan. And to recap, by successfully developing a statewide action plan, Indiana unlocked the ability to submit an application for federal funding to implement these climate projects. And again, this application was submitted last spring. So even after creating the priority plan and submitting the application, our work's not yet finished. So today I'll walk you through the next steps that we'll take to build an even more comprehensive plan. So let's take a quick look at what we need to accomplish. We will be continuing the stakeholder engagement process, and importantly, we'll be sharing a survey that's open to all Hoosiers and currently live on IDEM's website. We'll be sharing a link on the screen at the end of the presentation so you can access the survey and fill it out. Our plan is to have the results ready from the survey by the end of July, and the results will inform the selection of our new measures. Once the measures have been selected, we'll kick off the more detailed analyses that's required for the plan. This analysis included the assessment of co-benefits, evaluation on the impact on workforce, so job creation, assessing funding availability, and then also identifying the potential of greenhouse gas emission reduction. So the plan is in early 2025, we'll develop a draft of the plan. Just like for the PCAP, we'll share it for public review, and we will plan to deliver the final comprehensive plan to the EPA next summer. So looking back, we really had amazing participation and community engagement last year, and we really hope to continue this trend, especially given the importance of aligning to the needs of disproportionately burdened communities. And unfortunately, climate activities have an incredible potential to positively impact communities. So a few examples, urban trees can save millions in electricity costs while also benefiting community health. Renewable energy and energy efficiency efforts can promote local jobs, and switching to electric vehicles can improve air quality. To capture and reflect these community impacts, we'll be assessing the potential benefits and disbenefits of communities for all of our measures. These will be heavily informed by stakeholder feedback, your feedback. For example, we'll be looking in the ways that the benefits will affect avoided lost work days, avoided hospital admissions, avoided respiratory symptoms, lower energy costs. So one ask of everyone today, for any stakeholders that may have information, that may have any research or data sets on the different benefits or disbenefits associated with climate actions, please do reach out to us through the CPRG email address. We would love to connect, as we really are putting a high priority on data-driven decision-making. And finally, if you're a member of a disproportionately burdened community, please flag that in the survey or any outreach you do to us so we can make sure that we elevate your voice. So as we are moving into the comprehensive plan, we are proposing 13 additional measures for your review and consideration. The measures that we're proposing today were based on a few different factors. One is we looked at national best practices. So what have we been seeing in other states? We've also looked at popular measures from previous rounds of stakeholder engagement. We looked at the ability of these measures to benefit communities, driving economic growth, also attracting investment in clean energy, their ability to create jobs, and also reduce air pollution. So we'll be sharing a few of these measures at a high level today to kick off the input collection process. But do note that you can find all of the draft measures proposed for the plan on Indiana's CPRG website, so you can really take your time when you're reviewing them. So please, as we jump into this section, remember that these are all drafts. They're pending stakeholder feedback. So in the survey or via email, please vote for the measures that you'd like to see included, or feel free to propose alternatives. Also, I do want to flag that these measures will be merely additions to the existing plan. We're not replacing any of the impactful measures already identified, but we're simply adding to the list. So the first draft measure I'll cover today is based on preserving and restoring Indiana's natural lands. So this measure is actually building upon the Expand Green Space PCAP measure, which had a stronger focus on urban areas. So today we'd like you to consider an expansion to also include the conservation of forests, wetlands, and coasts. This measure is based around safeguarding critical habitat, protecting local wildlife, all while capturing carbon. The next draft measure focuses on increasing industrial energy and operational efficiency. This measure is also expanding on the PCAP measure of electrifying industrial processes. That way we can reduce reliance on fossil fuels. The expansion might mean introducing optimizations to streamline industrial processes and conduct regular energy assessments aimed at reducing energy consumption. As we all know, industry is a significant source of emissions in Indiana, and measures like these can help to significantly reduce statewide emissions. The next measure is centered around shifting transportation methods to decrease carbon emissions. So for example, freight that travels via rail will create far fewer emissions relative to to traveling by flight. Our next proposed measure is based around improving logistics hubs. So we all know that when vehicles are idling, they're still releasing emissions. This can be to keep your internal electric systems running, make sure the AC is still going. But if we can provide electrical outlets and other solutions at logistics hubs, we can greatly reduce emissions while also saving fuel costs. So the last measure that we'll cover today is also in addition to the Priority Climate Action Plan. So in the PCAP, stakeholders requested to include composting as a measure, an impactful way to reduce emissions simply by reducing food and other organic waste entering landfills. We now propose to expand this measure to include the recycling and recovery of non-organic materials, such as glass, plastics, metals. We want to make sure that they can stay in the loop, stay in our systems, and out of our landfills. We can accomplish this by expanding local recycling services, offering recycling in more areas, improving education on recycling, or other support areas. Again, these are all just a few proposed measures. So please visit IDEM's website. You can dive a little bit deeper into the measures, and you can vote for which measures you'd like to see included in Indiana's Comprehensive Climate Action Plan. So we've created a number of resources to help share your ideas, your feedback, and you can stay engaged. So as we've mentioned a few times, please do feel free to fill out the survey, vote for the measures that you'd like to see included in the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan. You can vote for measures that we've outlined today, others that are shown on the website, or measures that you think will benefit you or your community. The survey, the full list of measures, as well as many other resources are all stored on the CPRG Information Hub on IDEM's website, which you can see the link here. And if you have any questions or ideas for other measures, please do contact the email address linked, which is the cprg@idem.in.gov. So I'll now hand it over to Amanda, our moderator, to answer any questions that we've received throughout the presentation. If you have a question, it's not too late. Please feel free to submit them via the Q&A function now. We'll also be answering a few frequently asked questions today with the time remaining. Please do note, if we don't get to your question, please feel free to email the CPRG email address for a later response. Amanda, over to you.
Great, thank you, Noah. So as Noah just mentioned, before we close today, we did want to address some of the key questions relating to this extensive climate action planning process, especially as we covered a lot of content today. I'm going to start off by sharing some frequently asked questions from previous meetings, as many of these are still relevant to our ongoing work. But then I'll jump into key questions posed by today's attendees through the Q&A function. So thank you to everyone who's contributed there. And I know you aren't able to see each other's questions, so I'll make sure to repeat that question live before answering so that everyone can benefit. And though today's time is limited, I'll do my best to cover key themes. And of course, Jessica and team are here via email, as Noah mentioned, so please be in touch if we aren't able to address your question now. So with that background, our first question is, will the information shared today be available to me following the meeting? So of course, great question, as we covered a lot of content. Short answer is yes. Both the meeting slides and the recording will be posted to IDEM CPRG Information Hub, the link on the slide you can see here. And if you want even more background on the work leading up to today, trying to catch up, that's just fine. You can find the recordings from previous meetings posted to the Information Hub as well. Everything is available for your reference, and we'll be leaving this there throughout the duration of the project. Next question asks, will there be more virtual meetings? As this is our 7th stakeholder meeting, we do not have any future meetings scheduled at this point. However, as we've mentioned already, but is worth repeating, there are many other ways to continue to engage with the planning process. So first, please, please, please do fill out the live survey now. We appreciate your votes for climate measures or ideas for others to include. Second, feel free to reach out via email, sign up for the listserv, and when we get to the next stage, we appreciate your review of the draft plan. So please do continue to participate in this collaborative process. Next question asks, if I don't see a climate measure that can really help reduce emissions at my company, in my industry, or in my community, how can I propose a new climate measure for consideration? This is a fantastic question because a lot of the measures that we were able to include in the priority plan were ones that weren't initially proposed, but were brought up by stakeholders directly. So would love to see that process continue with the comprehensive plan. As you saw in previous slides, we have already proposed climate measures that were selected based on emissions impact, stakeholder preferences, and other factors. But during this feedback collection phase, we're really open to other ideas as well. So please just fill out our survey or email us your recommendation directly to the email address cprg@idem.gov, again on the screen as well. So yes, welcome to all ideas. Next question, will this plan be mandatory? The short answer here is no. This plan does not create any new mandatory requirements, which I think is an important distinction. Instead, this effort focuses on climate measures that communities, companies, and individuals will be willing to align to voluntarily due to the benefits these measures bring. So that's why we are really focused on gathering feedback, especially through the survey, so we can identify the measures that people want to see included and will be willing to participate in. And of course, if IDEM is awarded that federal funding for implementation later this summer, that funding will go to the implementation of projects that are aligned to these measures and were included in the application. So additional options for support. Next question asks, you mentioned the emphasis on disproportionately burdened communities. How were these communities identified? I'll start by sharing a little background first. So this climate planning program aims to advance the goals of the Justice 40 initiative. This mandates that at least 40% of the benefits of certain federal investments flow to disadvantaged or disproportionately burdened communities. That's why throughout the planning process, we focused on priorities and benefits to key locations throughout the state. And these were locations were identified in accordance with the federal guidance, including the use of the climate and economic justice screening tool. It's a lot of detail here, but the full details on the process and priority communities are written out extensively in the Priority Climate Action Plan, and you can find that plan available on the CPRG Information Hub. Again, a link right on the slide here for you. That being said, if you are a member of a community you believe should be prioritized, or one that we've identified already, please do let us know as you provide your feedback so we can place additional weight on your needs and your priorities. And as we move forward, additional engagement from community representatives and organizations is welcome. So please reach out via email and let us know. Next question is, what are the sources and timing of the federal funding to support climate action? As we mentioned in the slides already, and Noah covered in the slides already, describing last year's priority planning process, by creating and submitting a priority plan, Indiana unlocked the ability to apply for additional federal funding to implement that climate plan. And this was an application that IDEM submitted in spring of this past year. The application included projects submitted by stakeholders throughout the state. This included companies, nonprofits, local organizations as well. And the projects included were considered to be the most competitive, as Indiana will be competing with other states for this funding. So IDEM looked at the ability to reduce emissions, the cost effectiveness of the actions, and the benefits to priority communities, among other factors. And we're still waiting to hear back from the federal funding or on the federal funding awards from the EPA. And we're told that the grants will be awarded before the end of the summer. Fingers crossed. So if you were part of an organization who submitted a project, no additional action is needed from you at this point, except for your patience as we wait to hear back. However, if you're very interested in participating, if you have a great idea for a project that could use funding, Want to note that there are many other funding sources under the Inflation Reduction Act. So please go online, check out these broader programs as well. There are grants from the EPA, U.S. Department of Energy, and U.S. Department of Agriculture, among many others. The next question asks, do any other organizations have to approve of the comprehensive climate action plan we create? This planning program is supported by the EPA, and the EPA did review the priority climate plan we submitted last year to make sure we met their requirements for content. However, they don't approve of specific measures, and instead they defer to what is best for the state. So this process will continue with a comprehensive plan and gives us a lot of space to identify the measures that work best for Hoosiers. So I think approval is not something stakeholders have to worry about. And last question, thank you for hanging with us and for those who submitted questions as well. Will this program and the grant funding continue despite potential changes in administration? I think this is probably on top of many people's minds. So planning grant funding has already been allocated, and by accepting this grant funding, IDEM is required to create the deliverables associated with this acceptance of the grant. So this includes both the priority plan and the comprehensive plan that we're building now. And as mentioned already, the implementation grant funding that IDEM applied for in April, we've been told will come this summer prior to the election cycle. All right, we are just about at time. So thanks again for your patience and your questions. If we didn't get yours answered, I see there are some that just came in. Feel free to reach out to us via email. We're more than happy to engage with you in that forum. Now I'll hand it back to Noah to wrap us up today.
Thanks, Amanda. And again, everyone, thank you for attending today. We're excited to be continuing this collaborative effort to continue climate action in Indiana. We know it's a commitment. We know your time is valuable, so we can't thank you enough for your engagement. So here is a quick look at the next steps, also available on the Information Hub. We are looking forward to your votes on the survey. And again, thank you for staying engaged.